Hey 6th graders, Mrs. Simonson here. Tonight we are working on the second lesson of our unit, Variables, Formulas, and Graphs, which again is an important unit in that it lays the foundation for algebra courses you'll be taking in the next few years. Tonight's lesson is just building on what we did last night. We're still working with general patterns, but now we're going to be writing expressions that contain two variables to explain a pattern. Hopefully, the three vocabulary words are becoming more familiar to you. A general pattern is the number model or open number sentence for a pattern or rule. A variable is a letter symbol that represents a number. And special cases are examples that show the general pattern. I have given you an example of a general pattern and three special cases. When looking at that general pattern, notice that it contains two variables. And each variable can stand for any one of many possible numeric values. The special cases simply are substituting the variables with numbers. Now look at special case number 3 especially. Many students believe that variables always have to represent two different numbers. But in the special case number 3, both A and B are worth 6. Sometimes variables, though they use different letters, can still represent the same value. So let's get you working with some general patterns that have two variables. Please copy the following general patterns 1 through 5 in your math notebook. Then write two special cases, two examples for each general pattern. Press play when you're ready to check your work. Okay, answers are going to vary for these first 5 problems because we might have all chosen different numbers to replace the variables with. But know that this is a section that both Mrs. Fremming and myself will be checking. We can use special cases to write general patterns, just as we did in lesson 5.1. The only difference tonight is we're working with two different variables. We still can use the 2 steps to writing a general pattern. The first step has us looking to see what is the same in all cases. Well, I noticed that we have some number plus some number is equal to some number plus some number. So the adding, the equals to, and the adding stays the same in all 3 cases. Now, one additional thing I need to do because we're working with 2 variables is I want to look and see within one special case what numbers do I see remaining the same. For example, I see a 7 here and a 7 there, but I also see that a 3 stayed the same. Its position just changed. When I'm doing that, that's where I'm thinking about replacing with a variable. So I can assign one variable to the 7. Let's say I assign h. So the 7 came first and the 7 came last. I can assign a second variable to the 3. Let's use an I. The 3 came second in the first part of the equation and it came first in the second part. So h plus I is equal to I plus h. And that works for the 2 other cases. I just assigned a different value for it. For example, in the third one, 4 plus negative 2 equals negative 2 plus 4. Well, the 4 could be equal to the h, and the negative 2 could be equal to the I. Now it's your chance to try. You don't need to copy down the special cases. We want you to just write the general pattern. Remember to use the 2 steps. First, find what's the same in all 3 cases. Then replace your blanks with variables and know you're using 2 variables. Then press play when you're ready to check your work. So let's go and take a look at how to solve each of these. They are a little tricky, so I'm going to walk you through each one. If I look at number 6, I notice that I have some number, which changed for all 3 special cases, so I put a blank. Then I have multiply, that's true for all 3. And then it's a fraction. And I notice that the 2 is always the numerator of those fractions. So I don't need to put a blank, I need to write the 2. That was consistent in all 3. The denominators, though, changed each time, so I'm going to write a blank. And that's equals 2. And then I notice that that 2 also is the first factor after the equal sign. So I'm going to write 2. That was consistent for all 3. Then we have multiply, and then we have a fraction. And when I look at the fractions, they are different for all 3 special cases. There's nothing that stayed the same with those. So we'll have a blank at the top and a blank at the bottom. Now I need to look and study those blanks a little more. What's happening with all those special cases? Well, I notice I have a 4 here and I have a 4 there. Let's see, that's the same position of the 10s and the same position of the 29s. So I need to assign those pairs the same variable. So let's say A. So we're going to say A, and then it was the numerator of the second fraction, so A. Now I'm looking for the other blanks I need to fill in. Well, I noticed in the first case, the 7 was the denominator in both fractions. The 3 was the denominator for both fractions, and the 8 was the denominator for both fractions. So I'm going to assign the variable, let's make it B. Now I've written the general pattern. A times 2 divided by B is equal to 2 times A divided by B. And it's true for all 3 of those special cases. So again, we're just building on our work from last night in that we are describing general patterns in words, and now we're writing expressions with 2 variables. Remember, we use those same 2 steps. Now at this point, you can review any part of this lesson before you take your quiz at Schoology, and we'll see you tomorrow.